Wow, the pressure's really on because I really am the last thing standing between you and dinner. So I will try to be brief. They asked me to speak, but I'm going to ask you for something. I want you to tell a story, okay? I want you to tell about that time you were working with the farmers in your farmers network. You were working with them in the farmers market that you set up in your neighborhood. And you took their tomatoes that were still warm, still just off the vine, and you bit into that tomato, and the flavor just burst into your senses, and that tomato changed your life. Seems like a funny thing to say, but it did. That tomato changed your life. And I want you to tell another story. I want to tell the story about that first summer in the community garden when you and your friends and neighbors, you transformed that patch of ground, and that first summer you saw sunflowers blooming in the city. Lilac and beans, all manner of beans, all colors and shapes, climbing up those stakes that you would salvage from a construction site somewhere. And that changed your life. I want you to tell another story. I want you to tell that story about a simple salad bar in the neighbor's school that you helped put together. You didn't know if the kids would eat from it. You didn't know if they'd be interested in it. And then week by week, you began to realize they were looking forward to that. And then one day in the hall, you heard them bragging to their friends about the new fruits that they had tried. And that changed your life. And I also want you to tell that story about the time you found yourself with 300 pounds of zucchini. And you said, what the hell am I going to do with 300 pounds of donated zucchini? And then someone in the kitchen started talking about bread, and someone else started talking about fritters, and you set yourself a common task and a goal, and you started working on this. And this wasn't some, Bobby Flay, cost is no object throwdown. This is the much more vital and important $2.10 a meal fishes and loaves throwdown, right? And you made that work, and people walked away. Maybe they noticed the zucchini, maybe they didn't, but they walked away smiling and fed and full, and it changed your lives, right? And that's the stories I want you to tell. That's the stories that you can tell, that you can share. Maybe that's something that kind of radicalized you. It gave you a glimpse of what, people talk about as another world is possible, right? And let's pay attention to that word, to radicalize, because what does it mean? What's the history of that word? From the roots, right? So maybe it radicalized you, but what it really did in the original meaning of that word, it rooted you. It rooted you in your place. It rooted you in your community. It rooted you in the connections here amongst all of us. It rooted you in this community. And I am very grateful to the Community Food Security Coalition for setting this common table, for preparing the ground, for giving us the chance to tell and maybe embellish and embroider our stories a little bit, right? To gather in all this wisdom and nourishment that we get from one another. And, preparing the table is more than just setting out the forks and the cups. Just like preparing the soil is more than just turning over dirt. It takes time, it takes effort. It takes something that, this word's gone a little out of fashion, but it's very important. It takes stewardship. And that's what this coalition has been doing. The coalition has brought us together, has set the table, and we have now a set of stories to tell on Capitol Hill. And you know what that story is? Our collective story. You know what that's called? It may seem like a funny word to describe our collective story, but that story is called good public policy, right? It's called good public policy. What is good public policy except the distillation of wisdom and experience for the common good? It's taking personal experiences and life-transforming anecdotes and translating that into policy and practice and law. And there is wisdom here among us. It's taken root. It's grown up out of the soil. It's grown up in the cracks in the sidewalk. It's grown out of school lunchrooms. And it's become a diverse and healthy movement. And let's remind ourselves of what are those pieces of the movement, where we came from, where we're at the root, right? Let's remind ourselves how we came to be more than the sum of the parts, more than the individuals and groups that make up the coalition. We're working on the reauthorization of federal farm bill, and this legislation is very important for this healthy and diverse movement. To all of you who are putting culture back in agriculture. Yes. All right? That's it.